Welcome to lesson 3 of my Sonic Gold mix strategy. And specifically in this lesson, we're going to be deep diving in balancing the lead vocals to the mix. So if you've been following along, we essentially have the music portion of this mix dialed in. It's not finalized, but we have the levels in the ballpark regions of where they should be, meaning we can hear all the various different elements. Nothing is too quiet, nothing is too loud. So we have a decent balance going on in our mix. The next thing I like to do once the music is decently balanced is begin to mix in the lead vocal. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you how I begin and start developing a vocal chain. And in this instance, we're going to be working on Shyla Gray's vocal, which, as you know, this is kind of like an R&B soul track. So let's take a listen to her vocal as it comes in here with the music.
To feel what you need from me, make me change.
So the main thing that I want to take notice of, or want you guys to take notice of, is there's moments where her vocal is very large in amplitude, and there's moments where her vocal is very soft in amplitude. And so one of the first things that we want to do in processing this vocal to balance in with the rest of the music a bit more is control those dynamics a bit more. And the best way to do this is to use a compressor. Now, I may have some different plugins than you, and this mixing course is not about the actual tools that I'm using, although you can go ahead and buy those plugins if you wish. But you can get similar results with just stock plugins as well. So don't feel that you can't understand mixing or understand the process that I'm teaching simply if you don't have these tools. It's not about the plugins or the tools. It's about the strategy. So one of my favorite compressors to start leveling a vocal is going to be an opto style compressor. Waves has a good one, which is the CLA 2A. So you can get this Waves plug-in if you would like that one. I prefer the UAD version just because of the tone. I just like the tone of it better. But before we actually apply this plugin, let's kind of get the volume of this lead vocal at a better position in reference to the rest of the music, because right now it's a bit loud.
To feel what you need from me.
So right around there, -4.2, at least when she hits those higher notes, it's not super loud or peaking our ears. So next thing we're gonna do now is enable back our LA2A leveling compressor, and let's start to compress her voice a little bit.
To feel what you need from me, make me change. To feel what you need from me, make me change. To feel what you need from me, make me change. To feel what you need.
So what I'm doing right now is with this peak reduction, we kind of got an idea of how much compression that we want to do, but now I'm trying to level back the compressor so that when I bypass and put it back in, there's no great difference in the volume.
To feel what you need.
Put it back in.
To feel what you need.
So right there, we can see that the vocal comes a little bit more forward, but it's not significantly louder, which is a key thing to keep track of throughout this entire mixing strategy. Is always gain matching back your plugins after you use them, after you dial in a setting. Make sure when you bypass it, there's an extreme or noticeable difference of volume. Either you don't want the volume to be lower or significantly lower or significantly louder when you put in a plugin. You want it to, as much as you can, stay consistent and the same, whether you put in the plugin or not.
Just to stay comfortable.
So the vocal is leveled, and this is also another lead vocal track here. So I'm just going to copy same instance of that plugin down. So the next thing I want to do with this vocal, we want to give this vocal a little bit of space in the mix, this lead vocal that we have here. So in this hall aux track that I have here, I'm going to create a reverb. And one of my favorite reverbs to use, you can use any reverb that you would like, that you wish, but you just put it right on the aux track itself. And we're putting it right on the Hall 1, and I'm going to use the Valhalla Vintage Verb, which is one of my favorite reverbs. And then on the lead vocal audio track, which is here, we're going to, where we have our sends column here, we're going to click on the first insert. We're going to do track, and we're going to do Hall 1. And that correlates to the Hall 1 aux that we have down here. So now as we feed more volume of this lead vocal track here to the aux that has that Valhalla Vintage Verb, we're going to hear more of that reverb sound.
To feel what you need from me, make me change.
And you can really mix in this reverb to taste. I'm going to start there as a starting point because I want to hear as she hits those higher and louder notes that we hear the depth of the reverb in this kind of slower song. So here's without the reverb.
To feel what you need.
Let's put in the reverb.
To feel what you need from me, make me change.
So that's a good starting level. And I'll copy that same setting to the second lead vocal here. So now that our lead vocal has a compressor on it, some reverb, we're kind of getting an idea of where the lead vocal should sit.
Just to stay comfortable.
So this is a very well sung vocal. And for the lead vocal, we're not going to do too much vocal processing yet. Mainly what I'm listening for when I'm doing the vocal chain for the lead vocal to start is fixing issues. So first, it was too dynamic. So we wanted to control the dynamics a little bit more. The only other thing that I hear right now is there's some frequencies in the high mids that are a little bit present that we could reduce to kind of warm up her voice a little bit. Let's play a little bit. So it's kind of screeching a little bit. Kind of that area right there. So let's try and duck some of that.
Just to stay comfortable.
So that kind of warmed up the tone a little bit simply because we're reducing some of those harsher frequencies. So I'll copy that same EQ to the vocal below it as well.
Just to stay comfortable.
Want to pinpoint that frequency.
Just to stay comfortable in your arms.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. All right, we're going to leave it at that for right now. So we have our lead vocal with some reverb. We have the dynamics of it controlled. We have some problematic frequencies that are controlled a little bit. And the lead vocal is now balanced to the music, which is great. Next, we're going to get into balancing all the background vocals and just getting a rough idea for how to, handle so many different tracks, especially when you're dealing with so many different background vocal tracks. So stay tuned for lesson 4 for that.